In next few minutes, we are going to take some really common business questions around sales and profit and turn them into these 5 powerful visuals in Tableau. But we are not just building charts here. I'll walk you through our simple 5-step solution approach from understanding the question, choosing the right chart and building it out, and all the way to pulling out insights and making recommendations for business. Then in the next video, I'll give you an early peek into dashboarding. We'll take all these visuals and bring them together to build your first interactive dynamic dashboard. One that your stakeholders can actually use, explore, and take important business calls on the basis of these insights. Hey there, welcome to the next video in this section. Let's start by discussing the agenda first. The first question we'll be looking to answer is which categories are performing the best across different regions when it comes to sales. Since we have 4 regions and 3 categories, we'll first drop the numbers into this simple cross table just to get a sense of the data. Then we'll look at much clearer and more visual way to show this. Next, we'll deep dive into how sales are trending over time and see if we can spot any seasonal patterns or peak months where demand really spikes. Next, we'll switch gears and look at profits, starting with a breakdown of which subcategories are making the most profit per product. After that, we'll explore profit distribution across states to see which states are top performers and which states are struggling, and if anything stands out as a red flag. After that, we'll look at how profit is distributed across the 4 major regions and build a visualization that clearly shows that breakdown. And finally, I'll show you 2 different ways to save your Tableau workbook and visualizations. One is saving offline and the other one is publishing the work on the Tableau's public so that you can easily showcase your visualizations and dashboards with whole of the Tableau's community. Let's jump right in and tackle our first business question and start by analyzing sales across regions and categories. Before we jump into the question, let's not lose sight of the data we are working with. I'll always keep a quick snapshot of it handy as we go through each question so that we can stay grounded, see the actual structure, and focus on the relevant field for our analysis. Alright, let's start with the first question. How are sales distributed across different product categories within each region? Think of it. Why would a business care about how sales vary across categories and regions? Because it tells us which regions and categories are doing well, and that's the key for smarter resource allocation. It also helps us spot underperforming categories in each region, perfect for planning targeted marketing or improvements. Alright, let's get into it. But before we do anything, we need to figure out which fields in our data are actually relevant for answering this question. Looking at the question, it's easy to spot what we need from the data. The fields we need are region, product category, and sales values. So to start exploring sales across categories and regions, we'll first build a simple cross table using region and category fields. You'll notice both of these are dimensions. Next, we'll drop in the sum of the sales to fill up the table. This gives us the actual numbers for each category in every region. That works. But can we do better? The thing with these number tables is, as they grow in size, it becomes harder and harder to spot patterns from these raw numbers or difficulty in drawing meaningful insights at a glance. Now think about it. How could we make this more visual? What if we use a grouped bar chart, where each group represents a region, and within each group we use individual bars to show sales for each category. That way identifying patterns and comparisons becomes instantly clearer. Makes sense, right? So we have figured out which type of visualization we need to build to answer this question. Now let's see how easy it is to bring this to life in Tableau and build these charts step by step. Open the Tableau public and import the sales data as discussed in the previous videos. First, let's build this cross table between category and region in Tableau. To do this, drag category to row shelf and regions to column shelf. Tableau will automatically create a text table with blank cells, basically setting up the skeleton for the aggregation. You can also swap the rows and columns if you prefer a different layout. Just hit this swap button to switch the view. But for now, let's switch back to our original setup to keep things consistent. Now to populate this blank table with aggregated values, we'll bring in the sales field and drop it into the text card on the marks pane. This fills the table with the total sales numbers for each combination of category and region. Notice Tableau has automatically aggregated the sales based on the level of the view, which right now is set by category and region. Alright, let's go ahead and build this group bar chart now. If I ask you which fields goes on x-axis here, that's right, it's both the dimensions. Region as the outer group and category within each region. Now if you remember from the last video, I mentioned that in Tableau, the x-axis is controlled by column shelf. So in a new sheet, let's drag region and categories onto the column shelf and watch how the view changes. This structure sets up perfectly for a group bar chart, where each region becomes a group. And inside each group, we will have bars for every product category. Now this time, instead of placing the sales onto the text card like we did earlier, this time drop it onto the row shelf. And just like that, Tableau instantly creates a bar chart for us. Cool. Let's quickly take care of basic formatting, things like adding colors and data labels to make this visual more intuitive. First, let's bring in some color. Drag category onto the color shelf in the marks pane. Next, drop sales onto the label to show the values right on the bars. Now to improve the look, we can reduce the bar height slightly. Just click and drag the edge to resize them like this. And finally, let's format these sales numbers to make them easier to read. Click here on this drop down on the green sales pill in the marks pane, then choose Format to adjust the number display. In the font section, reduce the size to 8 and set the color to absolute black and make the text bold so it stands out clearly. Now under the numbers, choose Currency Custom, set decimal places to 0 and you can select thousands as display units. The dollar sign is automatically added by default, so no extra steps there. Once done, just close this formatting window. Now it looks much cleaner and more professional already. And finally, let's rename this sheet and chart title to something more meaningful. You can double click on the Sheets tab and rename it to Region Category Sales Bar. Now double click the chart title at the top and replace this default sheet name with something cleaner like Sales Across Region and Category. Hit OK and we are done. Cool. Now that our chart is ready, it's time to do what really matters for the business. Extract key insights and turn them into actionable recommendations for the business. Let's take a focused look at the patterns and trends this chart reveals and think about what decisions a business could make based on this view. Alright, here's a quick exercise for you. Pause the video for a moment and try to note down a few key insights or business recommendations based on this chart. Once you're ready, resume the video. I'll walk you through a few sample suggestions. So here's what I noticed. Tech is killing in both East and West, with the highest sales there. Looks like there's a strong demand for tech in those regions. But sales in South is way lower across all the categories. That's definitely worth digging into. Maybe it's due to low demand, maybe logistics or competition. If I were the business, I would double down on tech in East and West with more inventory, stronger marketing, maybe bundle some offers as well. I've also summarized everything in detail in the lecture slides, so feel free to review them anytime. But let me say this, getting into the habit of deriving insights and making recommendations is what separates an average analyst from a great one. It's not just about building cool visuals, it's all about adding real value to the business. So always take a step back, observe the patterns, and note down your key takeaways to be discussed with your stakeholders. With that said, let's jump right into our next important business question. How are sales distributed across different months? Now it's time to look at how sales trend over time and see if we can spot any seasonality or peak demand periods. Alright, the next question we are tackling is, what does the monthly sale trend look like over time and how does it fluctuate across different months? This question really matters to the business for a couple of reasons. First, it shows the seasonality and demand patterns. So business can plan better when it comes to inventory, staffing, or running targeted promotions at the right time. Second, it gives a clear picture of how things are going overall. Spotting trends or sudden changes helps teams understand what's working and what's not, and tweak their strategies accordingly. Alright, to answer this question, we need to figure out which fields in our data can help us. Since we are tracking sales over time, we will use order date field to extract the months and sales field to calculate the total sales for each month. And to visualize the monthly sales trend, we can start putting the order date in months on the x-axis and the sales on the y-axis, and we'll get a bar chart. But hold on, can we do better? Absolutely. A line chart does a much better job here and is usually preferred for showing trends. It can easily reveal whether sales are going up, down, or staying flat over time. Cool, let's jump back in Tableau and quickly build our monthly sales trend chart. Then we'll break it down and pull out some key insights for the business. Okay, let's create a new sheet by clicking here and rename it to sales trend. Alright, go ahead and drop the order date to the column shelf. Now here's something cool. Let me show you why Tableau is smart. Going to the data source for a moment, and if you look at the order date field, it actually holds full date values. But because Tableau recognizes it as a date data type, Tableau can automatically break it down into different levels. Going back to the sheet, here the order date is already broken down at the year level. Notice we have 4 years of data starting from 2019 to 2022. Just click on this drop down on the order date pill and you can instantly choose the level you want to analyze. Instead of years, we can choose the levels as quarters, months, or even days. That's super helpful, right? Now since we want to see monthly sales trend, let's select months. Now when I drag sales onto the row shelf, Tableau gives us a nice line chart showing the sales trend. You can also change it to a bar chart from this drop down in the marks pane and choose the bars. But for now, let's go with the line charts only. Now here, at first glance, it looks like sales are steadily increasing month by month. But wait, is that really what's happening? Let's pause for a second. Remember, I just showed you that we have data from 2019 to 2022, right? So if I select months again and choose a single value on this plot, for example, say this September month, here we have total sales of around 307k. Here, this September month isn't just from 1 year. It's actually the total sales from every September across these 4 years. Does it make sense now? It's important to be careful about what we are actually seeing. So to get a full timeline, months with years, head to the order date drop down and under this horizontal bar where you see a format like May 2015, select this month from the list. Notice what happens? Now your x-axis becomes a continuous timeline showing month by month sales across all the years in sequence. Cool, this is much better. One thing I personally like to do is toggle the date field between continuous and discrete, depending on what I want to highlight and how much space we have in the report. For example, from this drop down, instead of this continuous, if I change it to discrete, it lets me display each month's name clearly on the x-axis. And to make it even more informative, just drag the sales field onto the label shelf in the marks pane. That adds the actual sales numbers right on the line chart. And finally, let's make those numbers look cleaner, just like we did it here in the first plot. So right click on this text label pill and select format. Under the font, set the size to 8, color to black, make it bit bold, and in the number section, choose currency custom and set the decimal places to 0, and finally display units as thousands, and close the formatting window. Numbers are looking much better now. We can also change the thickness and color of this line chart by exploring this color and size under the marks pane. Cool. Since we are already looking at this monthly trend, let me introduce you a super useful feature called reference line early in this course. I can put a reference line of a constant sales value on this graph, and that will help us compare individual monthly sales to this baseline value or a constant value, so our insights become a lot more meaningful. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that. Alright, now to add a reference line, head over to this data pane header and right next to the data header, click on this Analytics tab to enter the Analytics pane. You'll notice there are a bunch of advanced analytics options here. Don't worry, we'll explore more of these in later sections. If you're curious, feel free to poke around on your own. But for now, let's stick to something simple and powerful, the average line. Just drag it onto the view and you will see 3 options popping up: table, pane and cell. Drop it onto the table for now. We'll get into what pane and cell do later. So dropping onto the table gives us a single average line across this entire chart. Now with this reference line in place, it's super easy to compare. You can instantly spot which months performed above average and which months fell short below average. Isn't it cool, right? But we can still make this even better by editing this average reference line so that your top management can glance at this chart and immediately get the key insight without digging deeper. Alright, let's clean up this average line label to make it more meaningful. Just right click on this line and hit edit. In the pop-up, change the label drop down to custom. Now over here in this text editor, select computation. You'll see it shows the word average. Let's add more useful information to this. Now right after this computation, type monthly sales and keep noticing the changes in the text on this reference line. And then from this horizontal drop down, click on the value to display the actual sales number. See how it updates on the chart itself. Much better, right? Now let's make this reference line stand out a bit more. Head to this formatting section. Here I like to make it a dashed line. Next change the color to blue and then increase the thickness a bit. And from here I can control the opacity of this line as well. More the opacity, the darker this line. So let's choose something around 80. That already makes it so much easier to spot on the chart. Now here comes the fun part, this fill above and fill below feature. This is super useful trick to instantly highlight the trends. We'll fill the area above the average with this green color, which clearly shows where monthly sales were higher than average. And for below region, let's go with this soft red. This helps us quickly spot the months that underperformed as compared to average. And finally, uncheck this option so the value at the trend line does not change if we select a particular month. And hit OK. Alright, let's polish this label a bit more to make it stand out. Right click on this label again and this time instead of edit, select format. And in the formatting window, go to the reference line label. Inside the font, let's make it bold and use the white color. And under the shading option, let's select the black color. And from here you can increase or decrease the opacity of this shading. Let's keep it 80% and close this formatting window. This looks much better, right? Now one more thing I like to customize. If you look closely, you will notice these white horizontal grid lines running through the main plot. Personally, I like to clean those up for a sleeker look. To get rid of this horizontal white grid lines, just right click on empty space inside the chart and hit format. In this format pane, click on this little line icon and go to the rows tab since these grid lines are across the rows. And from this grid line option, set it to none. That removes the grid line and close this formatting window. Now notice those annoying white horizontal grid lines are now removed. Nice and clean. And that's a wrap on formatting this plot. Hopefully you have picked up how to tweak different chart elements and format the visual as per your own liking. Now when it comes to the formatting, we have only scratched the surface. There's tons of customization you can explore. So I highly recommend experimenting and figuring out what matches your style. Cool, let's finish off this plot by adding a clear descriptive title. So in this plot, we have monthly sales trend and also we are comparing each month's sales with the average baseline sales. So I can choose the title something like monthly sales trend compared with average monthly sales. So let's go ahead and double click on the title to change the title of this chart. Now let's wrap it up with a few key insights and recommendations based on what we see here. If you notice, sales consistently peak from September to December, which is majority in quarter 3, especially in November. This is likely due to holidays and year-end shopping. This is pretty evident due to this average reference line as well. Almost every year, we see above average sales for September, November and December. So as a business, we need to focus more or around quarter 3 marketing budget and inventory planning here. And also, we should explore ways to boost quarter 4 and quarter 1 sales where these dips are noticeable. Feel free to study this visual in greater detail and add more insights and recommendations on your own. Awesome, now that we have explored sales trend, let's shift gears and dig into the profit side of the business. Let's dive into the profit analysis, starting with examining the average profit across different subcategories. Our first profit-focused question is, what is the average profit per product for each subcategory within a category? This question really matters to the business for few key reasons. First, it helps prioritize subcategories that bring in higher margins. And second, if some subcategories are dragging down profit, the business can revisit pricing or discount strategies to improve margins. Since we are looking at average profit per product for each subcategory, we'll need the fields such as category, subcategory, profit, and finally quantity. If you look closely at the data, this profit column shows total profit, which includes multiple quantities of same product. So to analyze average profit per product, we first need to create a calculated field that gives us profit per unit for every row, which is essentially this profit divided by quantity for each row. So to analyze average profit per product, we first need to create a calculated field that gives us profit per unit, which is essentially the profit divided by quantity for each row. Using this new calculated field as measure, we can now build an aggregated view to compute the profit per product for each subcategory. But here's something interesting to notice. Unlike a first question where we build a cross table using two independent dimensions which are region and category, we cannot really do that here, because here each subcategory belongs to one category only. So it's a hierarchical relationship, not a many-to-many like here. So that's why instead of a cross tab, we'll just stack the dimensions. For example, first category, and inside this category, the unique subcategory underneath to get the right breakdown. Cool. Take a moment to digest everything we have discussed on this slide. Because remember, when you're clear on the question and approach, building the visualization in Tableau is pretty straightforward. Alright, let's jump into Tableau and start building this visualization step by step. To start with profit analysis, let's create a new sheet by clicking here and name it Subcategory Average Profit. Just like we discussed here, our first step in Tableau will be to create this calculated field measure called Average Profit per Unit. So to create this calculated field, click on this small drop down in the data pane and select Create Calculated Field and name the field as Profit per Unit. And in the formula editor, type Profit and select Profit from the suggestion divided by quantity. Alternatively, if you don't feel like typing, you can just drag the profit field onto the formula editor and division symbol a / and drag the quantity field right after it. That's it. Hit OK and your calculated field is ready to go. We'll use this field for average profit calculation. Alright, let's start building the visualization. First, drag the category field onto the column shelf and right next to it, drop the subcategory field. This creates the structure we want. Now drag a newly created profit per unit onto the row shelf and instead of the sum aggregation, choose the average aggregation. And you will get a clean horizontal bar showing the average profit per product for each subcategory. At first glance, this copier subcategory within the technology category stand out with an exceptionally high average profit per product, which is around $220. To make the insights stand out visually, let's apply color on the bars based on the average profit per product. This way, higher average profit will be instantly noticeable through deeper shades. drag profit per unit field onto the color shelf. Then here also, change the aggregation from sum to average. If you are unsatisfied with this color scheme, you can go to this drop down in the color legend and choose edit colors. I personally prefer this red-green diverging gradient, so go ahead and select this gradient and click OK. Cool. Now let's also display average profit labels on the bars as well. Drag the profit per unit onto the label in the marks pane, and here also change the aggregation from sum to average. Finally, let me quickly format these numbers just like we did it in the previous visualizations. Also change the title to something meaningful, something like subcategory average profit per product, and hit OK. And that's it. Now it's time to pull out some important insights from this chart. As you can see, the copier subcategory under the technology is clearly standing out, with an average profit per product of more than $200, while the rest of the subcategories are barely touching $15 as average profit per product. So in statistical terms, we'll call such values as an extreme values or outliers. And these outliers visually dominate the chart, making other insights harder to notice. We'll deal with advanced techniques of handling outliers in my other data science courses, but for now, here's a neat Tableau trick. We can exclude just this bar from the view for better clarity. But before you do that, you should always capture this important insight for the reporting purpose and note it down. Now to exclude this bar from the visualization, just right click on this copier's bar and select exclude. Instantly, the chart and scale readjusts itself and everything becomes much clearer, making it easier to explore the rest of the subcategories and making your chart presentation ready. Also, since the copier subcategory has been excluded due to its significantly high average profit, let's mention this below the title so that anyone viewing the chart understand that it's not the part of the visualization. Double click on the title to bring this title editor, and here in the next line, just type "We have excluded copiers under technology category." I can select this text, make it bit small, bold, and color it to green, and hit OK. Now this title clearly communicates the exclusion directly in the chart title itself. Also, if you look above the marks pane, you'll notice a filter card has appeared in the filters pane. That's Tableau letting you know that this sheet contains some filters or exclusions. You can confirm by this by clicking on this drop down arrow on this filter card and select edit filter, and then scroll through the list to see copiers inside the technology category have been excluded from the view. Awesome. Now let's close this filter window and focus on drawing important insights from this visualization. Let's quickly adjust the chart layout for better presentation. I'm slightly reducing the chart's height here, and from this fit drop down in the toolbar, select fit width to ensure the chart spans the full width of the available screen space. This makes the visualization much cleaner. Now with the outlier removed, the differences in average profit across subcategories are much clearer and easy to interpret. Let's discuss few insights and recommendations from this visualization. Since we already know that copier subcategory inside the technology was clearly standing out with the highest average profit of more than $200 per product. So here we have a great opportunity to bundle the copiers with some accessories for cross-selling. On the flip side, the tables in furniture are showing a negative profit of around minus $15.6 per product, which is really a red flag. Also, it's worth digging into bookcases and supplies under furniture and office supplies category respectively. Let's investigate the potential causes, if any. Like, are we giving any unnecessary discounts? Are there any supply chain issues? Or simply there could be low demands of these products as well. You can find the summary of insights in the slides as well, but feel free to add your own insights and recommendations. Cool. Moving ahead, let's dive into the next key question to explore the profit distribution across states. This time, the business seeks insights into the distribution of profit across various states aiming to identify which states are contributing the most to overall profitability and which are impacting it negatively. The question holds strategic importance for the business because it helps determine whether to invest further in high profit states or consider exiting regions with consistently low profitability. Also, enables business to take targeted actions such as localized marketing, dynamic pricing, or cost reduction initiatives tailored to specific regional performance. And from the question itself, it is evident that we only need two key variables for this analysis: state and profit. And for sample approach and visualization, since we are working with a single dimension which is states, we'll place it on x-axis. Then by adding profit to y-axis, we generate a bar plot that clearly shows the profit distribution across states. Sorting these bars from highest to lowest profit allows us to quickly identify which states are the top contributors and which are underperforming. So for the visualization purpose, this bar chart works fine. No issue here. But since Tableau has automatically recognized this state as a geographic data type, we can definitely level up in terms of the visualization. So instead of this traditional bar plot, we can take advantage of Tableau's map visualization capabilities to display state-wise profit distribution more intuitively. This filled map can make geographical trends and regional patterns instantly recognizable. Exactly the kind of insights Tableau excels at delivering. It's not just visually appealing, it's super informative too. Alright then, let's jump into Tableau and see this in action. Let's create a new sheet by clicking on this new sheet icon and quickly build this bar chart to visualize profit distribution across state. After that, I'll demonstrate how easily we can create a geographic map using Tableau's mapping capabilities. Let's rename this sheet to state-wise total profit. Here we can start by dragging state onto the column shelf and profit to the row shelf. Tableau automatically aggregates profit as a sum, which works perfectly here. To sort these bars in descending order, just like we had in this visualization, where we have sorted from highest profit to lowest profit, go to the toolbar and click on this second sort icon in toolbar. The first icon sorts in ascending order, but for our purpose, descending order gives us a clear view of the top performing state right up front. Cool. I'd also like to apply a continuous profit color gradient to enhance this visualization. So go ahead and drag the profit field onto the color shelf in the marks pane. This will color each bar based on its profit value, helping us visually distinguish high profit and low profit state at a glance. But just like before, let's change the color scheme to diverging red and green. Let's go to this legend, edit colors, and here choose the red-green diverging and click OK. Also notice this visualization is consuming a lot of horizontal space, requiring us to scroll right to see all the states and the total profit value. To fix this and make the entire chart fit within the visible area, go to this fit drop-down in the toolbar and change it from standard to entire view. This ensures the full plot is scaled to fit the screen without the need to scroll. Cool, let's finalize the visualization by adding data labels to make the profit values clearly visible. Drag the profit field onto the label in the marks pane. Now let me quickly format these numbers just like previous visualizations. Perfect, we now have a clean and insightful vanilla bar chart that instantly reveals key takeaways. So here we can see top performers are California and New York, which are clearly leading in terms of total profit, and the underperformers are Ohio and Texas, which stand out with significantly negative profitability. Cool, this looks okay, but let's explore something cool as geographic plot displayed over here, which uses real map to create more insightful visualization. Create a new sheet and name it to state-wise total profit map. So to start creating map visualization, simply drag this country field directly onto the view. Give it a few seconds. Tableau fetches the map in real time, so make sure you are connected to the internet. Since our dataset contains only one country, which is United States, Tableau automatically zooms into the US, focusing the map view accordingly. Now take a moment to observe what do we have in rows and column shelf, and also in the marks pane. Tableau automatically uses these generated fields, latitude and longitude, and places them on the column and row shelf respectively. And also in the marks pane, you will notice that country field is automatically added to detail. The simple action of dropping this country field onto the canvas actually triggers these three separate steps behind the scenes. Longitude goes to columns, latitude goes to rows, and country is automatically added into the detail. Understanding this breakdown will deepen your grasp of how Tableau handles geographic data and shows how a single drag and drop encapsulates multiple internal processes. It's a great way to demystify how Tableau builds its visualization step by step. So let's begin by manually building this map step by step. First, clear the sheet by clicking on this button in the toolbar. Now let's drag longitude to columns and latitude to rows. This would generate a world map by default. This time, there is no focus on the US as we don't have anything into the details. Now dropping the country on the detail in the marks pane lets you focus only the country available in the dataset, which in our case is USA. So the map automatically zooms in on the United States. Cool. By doing it manually, you not only replicate what Tableau does behind the scenes, but also gain better control and understanding of geographic plotting workflow. Since the goal is to summarize the profit for each state on the map, so go ahead and drag the state field into the detail area in the marks pane. This will break down the map further, revealing state level granularity. So the level of detail is set to country and state level, indicating that Tableau is now ready to aggregate these numbers or measures as per the level of view. Cool. Now let's visualize the profit distribution across states directly on the map. So go ahead and drag the profit to the label shelf. This will show the profit value on each state. And also drag the profit to the color. This will color code the states based on their profit levels. Also, to keep the color coding consistent, let's click on this color legend, choose edit color and select the red-green diverging color scheme and hit OK. This helps clearly distinguish high profit state in green from the low or negative profit states in red. We can also display the state's name. Just drag the state field to the label as well. Looking much better. Let's tidy this visualization a bit and format the currency number first. Right click on this text pill which is used to display these numbers and click on format. Go to numbers, select currency custom and select up to 1 decimal place and display unit as 1000 and close the window. For this map visualization, Tableau considers this as a single string of text. So it doesn't allow separate formatting of state names and profit numbers, as it is treated as a single block of strings. That's sad. So if you want to make it bold, both numbers and the state name will be bold together or their font size will increase together. So to format this text block, click on this universal text label in the marks pane and in the formatting pop-up, go to the font. Here, let's apply our standard style. Let's select font 8, color black and make it bold. And finally close the formatting window once done. Cool. Now both the state names and the profit figures will appear consistently styled on the map. Okay, now let's explore few map features which help us in navigating this map. We can zoom in, zoom out, and by clicking on this button, we can reset the view as well. To pan this view, hover over this play button thingy, click on this pen tool. This will help us panning the view from here and there. Within the same toolset, you will notice various selection options like rectangular, radial or lasso selection. So feel free to explore and see what works best for your analysis. Cool, our visualization is now ready. It's time to dive into the insights and uncover what the data is telling us. First up, California and New York. So California is by far the most profitable state in our dataset, with the highest profit of around $76,000. This kind of performance makes California and New York a strong candidate for scaling operations further. Other good performers are Washington, Michigan, and Indiana, all worth considering for expansion or strategy replications like we did it in California and New York. On the flip side, Texas is biggest loss maker, with a profit of around minus $26,000. We should dig deeper to analyze what could be causing this. So for the business, this visualization gives two clear paths. Double down on what's working in the top states like California and New York. Investigate and troubleshoot in states like Texas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. Great, now we can move on to the final business question and build a last visualization for this video. In this final part, our objective is to examine profit percentage across various regions. Here, we aim to answer the business question, which region contribute the most to overall profitability and which one are underperforming. The business is seeking answer to this question is to identify high profit regions that can be prioritized for further growth and investment, and also to identify low profit regions which may require cost optimization or strategic realignment. So for this analysis, we only need two fields, which is region and profit. And to build the solution approach, we know that region is a dimension. So we can place the region onto the x-axis. And profit, which is a measure, we can place it on y-axis. This gives us a clear bar plot displaying total profit by region. From the visualization, it is evident that West region leads with a total profit of approximately $108,000, while Central region lags behind with around $40,000 only. This bar plot is informative. However, this chart doesn't fully address our main question, which is to identify the percentage share or proportion of total profit contributed by each region individually, right? Just by looking at these absolute values, they won't reveal what proportion of total profit is coming from West region and what proportion of total profit is coming from Central region. Think about it. For example, to calculate the percentage share for the West region itself, we need to divide the total profit from the West region by the combined profit from all four regions. Then multiply the result by 100 to get the West share in overall profitability in percentage. Right? We can apply the same calculation for the remaining regions to determine their respective percentage contribution to the overall profitability. Now we can clearly see that West contributes to around 38% in overall profitability, while Central region contributes to only around 14% in overall profitability. So this is the precise calculation we needed to address our business question. So this is a common type of calculation termed as table calculation feature in Tableau. So we will use Tableau's quick table calculation feature to do this calculation instantly with just a click. So instead of directly diving into Tableau, I wanted you to walk through the simple maths behind it so you can better understand and relate to the logic when we implement it visually in Tableau. Cool. Now do you think, in terms of visualization, is this the most effective chart to represent the proportionate share for four regions? So if your answer is no, then you are absolutely right. While this chart serves the purpose, we'll follow it up with another visualization that communicates the same insight in a clearer and more visually compelling way. With that said, let's dive into Tableau and have fun implementing the concept and building these visuals. Let's start by creating a new sheet and renaming it to region-wise percent profit. Now drag the regions onto the column shelf and profit onto the row shelf. Also, drag the profit onto the label in the marks pane so we can display the profit value directly on the bars. And finally, sort these bars in descending order by clicking on this icon in toolbar. This helps in highlighting the top performing regions right away. Awesome. Now let's go and calculate the percentage contribution of each region to the overall profitability, just like this computation that I showed you here. Since these are standard and frequently used calculations, Tableau offers a built-in feature called Quick Table Calculations, which allow you to apply them directly from a predefined list. To apply a quick table calculation for displaying percentage share, simply right-click on the Sum Profit green pill in the marks pane, which is used to display the text, and then navigate to the second last option, Quick Table Calculation. Here you will find a list of around 10 commonly used built-in calculations. As you progress in your analytical journey, you will gradually become familiar with most of these. In fact, as we move forward in this course, We'll explore and apply some of the most important ones together. But for the current computation, go ahead and select the percent of total from this quick table calculation list. It displays the percentage contribution of each region to overall profitability. Isn't it great? No heavy lifting with calculations. And that's one of many reasons why Tableau is a favorite BI tool. Take a note of this small delta icon or triangle symbol in front of this green pill. This indicates that a table calculation has been applied to the field. Cool. Now circling back to choosing the right visualization as I mentioned earlier. We can definitely represent these proportions more effectively. To visualize these proportions using the pie chart, let's start creating a new sheet and name it to something more intuitive like regional profit percent pie chart. Feel free to choose a name that clearly reflects the purpose of your visualization. Let's begin by dragging the region field to the column shelf and the profit field to the row shelf to create a basic bar chart. Now to convert this bar chart into a pie chart, we'll use one of the Tableau's handy features that suggests chart types based on the data in use. Head over to the extreme right of this toolbar and click on Show Me. Here you will find a variety of chart types that Tableau recommends for your current selection. We'll be using Show Me feature often in upcoming videos as it's a great way to explore different ways of visualizing our data. But for now, let's use this pie chart. Just click on it to transform your bar chart into a pie chart and close the Show Me tab. It successfully created the pie chart, but it's appearing a bit small. To make it prominent, go to this Fit drop-down in the toolbar and change the setting from Standard to Entire View. This will resize the chart to occupy the full canvas area, making it easier to read and interpret. Also take a look at Marks pane. You'll notice a few default elements have been automatically added when this pie chart was generated. For instance, color represents the region, helping differentiate each slice of this pie chart, and the angle and size of each slice indicates the proportionate profit contributed by each region. Cool, that makes sense. But we also want to include text labels on the plot to make it more informative. Specifically, the region name along with its percentage share of the total profit. So let's simply drag the region on the label in the Marks pane, and then drag the profit onto the label as well to display both the region name and its corresponding profit share directly on the pie chart. Just like before, let's apply the quick table calculations here as well. Right click on this profit pill, which is displaying the profit as a text on the pie chart, and go to the quick table calculations and select percent of total. This will display the profit percentage of each region directly on the pie chart. You can also customize the colors of the pie chart using this color legend as per your preference. But I already have my color scheme set over here. You can also sort these pies in descending order by clicking on this icon here. This helps present a cleaner and more visually appealing breakdown, with the largest contributor shown first in the clockwise flow. So after West, East is our largest contributor, followed by South and then Central. A pie chart is all set and ready to help us drive key insight at a glance. Let's put this pie chart in the lecture slides and derive important insights. No surprise here, the West region leads with a share of around 38% in total profitability. It is likely due to major economic hubs like California, Washington and Nevada that we see on the map chart. This becomes much clearer when we supplement this pie chart with the state-wise profit map plot. We can visually see why the West dominates as it has more greener states. And for the business recommendation, we should try replicating the strategies that are working in the West across Central and South regions. Awesome! That wraps up building all visualizations for our first dashboard. Now let me quickly show you how to save your work locally and also publish it to Tableau Public so you can easily share your visualizations with others. First try saving the Tableau's workbook locally in your hard drive. Go to the File menu and select Save As. Then navigate to the folder where you want to save this file. I'm going to save this file on my desktop itself. Also, I'll name this file as Sales and Profit Visualizations. And from this bottom drop down, choose Tableau Packaged Workbook. I recommend this format over the second one because the file created by this format will contain all the necessary metadata and makes the file self-contained. Finally, click Save and you are good to go. This will create a packaged workbook file of these visualizations in your local system. So do save your work offline regularly. It's a good habit to avoid any unexpected data loss. Cool. Now if you're working with public datasets like our Superstore sales data that does not contain any sensitive or copyrighted info, you can publish your work online using Tableau Public. It's a great feature that lets you share your cool visualizations and dashboards with colleagues or stakeholders via a simple shareable link. Alright, let me show you how to publish this workbook directly from the Tableau itself and acquire a shareable link. First, head over to the file option in the menu bar and select Save to Tableau Public As. This opens up a sign-in window for you to log in into your Tableau Public account. If you haven't created a Tableau Public account yet, make sure to sign up first, then come back and follow the same steps. Now enter your Tableau Public credentials and then click on Sign In. Once you are signed in, a pop-up will appear asking for the workbook title. I'm sticking to the same title that I used before. And finally click Save. It may take few seconds to upload, and after that your workbook will be successfully published to the Tableau Public account. Now to view your published workbook, go to the public.tableau.com. Here just click on the sign in option, and once you're signed in, you'll find your workbook under your profile dashboard. So click on your profile icon and go to My Profile. All your published visualizations will show up right here on your profile. Click to open it, and when you are viewing this workbook for the very first time, it will display only the last plot that we have created. To display all the plots we have created in this workbook, go to the settings icon and toggle the Show Sheets option. And from this tab, you can access all your visualizations one by one. And if you want to share this workbook with someone, just click on the share icon and you can copy the shareable link from here. It's that easy. Also, in this profile, you will find all of our course visualizations that we'll publish one by one. I've included this account link into the lecture slides as well. Cool, that's all for this video. In the next video, you are gonna assemble all these visualizations and build your first functional dashboard. We'll be adding a few more elements to these dashboards. For example, including a date filter that lets you dynamically filter all visualizations based on selected time period, just like in this video image. See you in the next one.